I've spent my life chasing criminals, putting away scumbags, and bringing justice to the streets of Chicago. I wear my badge like a second skin, my gun like an extension of my arm. My record is clean, my reputation untarnished. I thought I had everything under control, until the night my world cracked open. It started with an offhand comment. Nothing more than a whisper in the dark. "Hey, Bennett." Might be nothing, but I thought I saw your wife last night over on 63rd. Some guy picked her up. Tall, built, black dude. Maybe just a friend, though. Jason Davis, my partner for the last 3 years, didn't even look up from his coffee when he said it. Like he was telling me about the goddamn weather. But the words hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. I forced myself to stay still. To breathe. "You sure it was her?" My voice was steady. A cop's voice. Jason shrugged. "Didn't get a good look. Just thought I'd mention it. Could be nothing, man. Could be nothing." That's what I told myself as I drove home that night, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. Could be nothing. Maybe she was out with a friend. Maybe Jason was mistaken. Maybe my wife wasn't sneaking around on me like some cheap whore in the night. But deep down, I already knew. I walked into our house. Our perfect, suburban home with the white picket fence and the neatly trimmed lawn. The kind of place that screams stability, security. The kind of place where wives don't fuck around on their husbands. She was in the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of wine. "Hey, baby," she said, flashing me a smile. Long day. I studied her. The way her blonde hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders. The way her blue eyes held just a little too much brightness, like she was trying too hard. "Yeah," I said, setting my gun down on the counter. Busy shift. I waited for something. Guilt, nervousness, a hesitation in her breath. But she was smooth. Too smooth. I wanted to ask her. Wanted to see the lie on her lips. But a cop doesn't make an arrest without evidence. That night, while she slept beside me, I got up and went to my office. Logged into the department system. I had access to traffic cams, security feeds, perks of the job. It didn't take long to find her. 10:47 p.m. South Side, corner of 63rd and Wentworth. A black Dodge Charger pulled up. My wife stepped inside without hesitation. I fast-forwarded. The car stopped in front of a motel. She followed him inside. I stared at the screen, my stomach turning to ice. I wasn't naive. I'd seen good men break. I'd seen wives cheat, families crumble. I'd seen the ugly side of marriage, the part no one talks about in wedding vows. But this was my wife. My home. My life. And she threw it all away for what? For some young, muscle-bound punk from the streets? My fists clenched so hard my nails bit into my palms. I could already feel the rage boiling beneath my skin. The instinct to hunt, to destroy. But I wasn't some impulsive idiot. I was a cop, and cops didn't make mistakes. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd show her just how dirty I could get. I shut off the computer, walked back to bed, slipped under the covers beside her, feeling the warmth of her body, the softness of her skin. She had no idea, but soon as she would. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the slow, even breaths of the woman who used to be my world. The same woman who had smiled at me just hours ago, kissed me goodnight, and then drifted off to sleep like she wasn't betraying everything we'd built. I could still see the footage burned into my mind. The way she slipped into his car like it was the most natural thing in the world. The way she walked into that motel, not hesitating, not even glancing over her shoulder. Like she had done it before. The thought made my jaw tighten. At 5 a.m., I got up. The sun wasn't even out yet, but I wasn't in the mood to pretend I could sleep. I took a shower, let the scalding water run down my back, trying to wash off the filth of what I now knew. When I stepped out, she was still asleep. Peaceful. Innocent. I fought the urge to wake her up. To demand answers. To ask her why she threw away a man who had dedicated his life to protecting her. Instead, I dressed, strapped my gun to my belt, and walked out the door like nothing had changed. The station was quiet when I arrived. Most of the guys wouldn't be in for another hour, which was fine by me. I needed time to think. I made myself a cup of coffee, sat down at my desk, and pulled up Marcus Cole's file. Marcus. That was his name. 28 years old. Criminal record wasn't as bad as I wanted it to be. Assault charges that never stuck, a couple of drug-related arrests, but nothing that had put him away for long. He ran with the 63rd Street Kings, a South Side gang known for running dope and weapons. And now, apparently, he was running his hands all over my wife. I leaned back in my chair, staring at his mugshot. He wasn't just some random guy she met. No, she went for the complete opposite of me. Younger, built, street-raised. The kind of guy that lived by his own rules, who didn't answer to anyone. And that was what stung the most. I wasn't stupid. I knew why she did it. I had spent the last 10 years with my badge coming first, with my gun on my hip and my radio on my shoulder. I'd been working late nights, missing anniversaries, forgetting birthdays. I knew I hadn't been the perfect husband, but I never thought she'd do this. Not like this. A chair scraped against the floor, snapping me out of my thoughts. Jason sat down across from me, tossing a file onto the desk. "You good?" he asked, sipping his coffee. "Yeah." He didn't buy it. "Come on, man. You've had that murder face since you walked in here. What's up?" I shook my head. "Nothing." Jason snorted. "Bullshit." He leaned forward. "Look, I don't know what's going on, but if you need to get something off your chest, I'm here." I stared at him for a long moment, then exhaled. "That thing you said yesterday about seeing my wife. You sure it was her?" Jason hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, man. I wouldn't have said anything if I wasn't." I clenched my jaw. "You know who the guy was?" He shrugged. "Didn't get a good look, but I got the vibe. You know what I mean." Yeah, I knew exactly what he meant. I tapped the file in front of me. "Marcus Cole." Jason's eyebrows lifted. "Shit. You serious?" "Dead serious." We sat in silence for a moment. Then he leaned in. "Look, man, I know this is personal, but don't do anything stupid." I forced a smile. "Me? Stupid?" Jason didn't laugh. He just shook his head and got up, walking away. I waited until he was gone before I turned back to the file. Jason was a good partner, a good friend, but he didn't understand. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was about justice, and I was going to make damn sure that justice was served. When I got home that night, she was waiting for me, curled up on the couch, barefoot, a glass of wine in her hand. She looked up as I walked in, smiling like nothing had changed. "Hey, baby," she said, stretching. "You look exhausted." "Long day." I dropped my keys on the table and forced a smile. "Yeah, same old." I watched her carefully. The way she studied me, searching for something. Guilt? Hesitation? If she was feeling either, she hid it well. "I was thinking we should take a trip," she said, sipping her wine. "Just the two of us. Maybe head down to Florida, get away for a bit." A trip? I almost laughed. She was planning a vacation while sneaking off to motels with another man. I sat down across from her, pretending to think it over. "That sounds nice. Maybe I can put in for some time off." Her eyes lit up. "Really? Yeah. I'll talk to my captain tomorrow." She smiled. That same smile that used to make me feel like the luckiest man in the world. Now it just made me sick. Later that night, while she was asleep, I got up again. I sat in my office, staring at the screen, watching the footage on repeat. The way she looked at him, the way she touched his arm, leaned into him like he was the only man in the world. I clenched my fists. I had put away men like Marcus Cole my entire career. Punks who thought they could take whatever they wanted, who thought they could spit on the law, on order. But now it wasn't just some case. It was my life, and I wasn't going to let him take it. The next morning, I made a call. "Detective Reynolds." "Reynolds, it's Bennett. You still working the narcotics task force?" "Yeah." "What?" I glanced toward the bedroom, making sure she was still asleep. "I need some info on a guy. Marcus Cole, 63rd Street Kings." A pause. Then, "Cole?" "Yeah, I know him. Small time, but connected. He's been under the radar for a while." "Why, you got something on him?" "Maybe," I said. "Keep this between us, but if I find anything, you'll be the first to know." Reynolds chuckled. "Shit, man. You looking to make detective now?" "Something like that." I hung up and sat back, my mind already working. I wasn't going to take Marcus out with a bullet. No, that would be too easy, too quick. I was going to ruin him. That afternoon, I followed her. She left the house around noon, dressed too nice for just running errands. Tight jeans, heels, hair done just enough to look effortless. She drove across town, not to the south side this time, but to a little cafe on the west end. I parked across the street and watched. 15 minutes later, he showed up. Marcus. He walked in like he owned the place, dressed sharp, flashing that cocky smile. And when he sat down across from her, she leaned in, touched his arm. I felt my fingers tighten around the steering wheel. I forced myself to breathe. This wasn't about anger. This was about control. I grabbed my phone and snapped a picture. Then, I drove away. The game had begun. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove aimlessly through the city, the the streets blurring past in a haze of neon and headlights. My hands were steady on the wheel, my mind sharper than it had been in years. I had a plan forming, one that didn't involve a gun or a moment of rage. No, I wasn't going to kill Marcus Cole. I was going to dismantle him, piece by piece. By the time I pulled into the station, the sun was creeping over the skyline. I walked in, grabbed a coffee, and headed straight for Reynolds' office. He was already there, sifting through paperwork, his tie loosened like he'd been at it all night. He looked up when I stepped in. "Bennett, you look like hell." "Yeah, well, it's been that kind of week." He gestured for me to sit. "You still sniffing around Cole?" "Yeah, I need everything you've got on him." Reynolds raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you care about a low-level dealer?" "Let's just say I've got a personal interest." He gave me a look but didn't push. Instead, he opened a file and slid it across the desk. "Cole's smart," he said. "Not flashy. He keeps his hands clean, lets his guys do the dirty work. But we've got informants saying he's moving up. There's a shipment coming in soon, high-grade stuff. If we catch him with it, he's done." I flipped through the file, scanning the reports. "A shipment?" That was all I needed to hear. "You got an exact date?" I asked. "Nothing solid yet, but it'll be big. If you're thinking about getting involved, I can loop you in." I nodded, already knowing exactly how I was going to play this. "Yeah," I said. "Keep me posted." I didn't go home until late. When I walked in, she was waiting for me again, this time in the kitchen, pretending to be occupied with her phone. "You've been working a lot lately," she said, not looking up. "So have you," I replied, watching her carefully. She stiffened for half a second before recovering. "What's that supposed to mean?" I shrugged, setting my gun on the counter like I always did. "Just an observation." She finally looked at me, her expression guarded. "Tom, is something wrong?" I studied her, taking in the details. The faint smudge of lipstick that wasn't for me. The slight scent of cologne that wasn't mine. "You tell me," I said. A pause. Then, she smiled. "I don't know what you're talking about." She was good. Too good. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You ever hear the phrase, 'the house always wins'?" Her eyes flickered with something. Uncertainty, maybe. "Yeah," she said slowly. "Why?" I leaned in just enough for her to feel my presence. "Because, sweetheart, I am the house." I watched her expression shift, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. She had no idea what was coming. The next night, I followed Marcus. He wasn't hard to track. Guys like him never were. He moved through the city like he owned it, confident, untouchable. He met with people in dimly lit bars, whispered things that would put a man behind bars for life. And I was right there, watching, waiting. When he finally left, I made my move. I followed him down an empty street, the city buzzing around us. Then, when the moment was right, I pulled up alongside him and rolled down my window. "Hey, Marcus." He turned, his eyes narrowing. "Who the hell are you?" I smiled. "Just a friendly face. Thought we should talk." I saw the moment he realized who I was. His lips curled into a slow grin. "Bennett. Shit, man, I was wondering when we'd finally meet." I kept my expression unreadable. "You and I have a problem," I said. He chuckled. "Oh yeah? What kind of problem?" "The kind that ends one of two ways," I replied. "Either you walk away from my wife, or you don't walk away at all." He studied me, weighing his options. Then he laughed, a slow, mocking sound. "Man, you got it all wrong. Your wife? She came to me, and she's not going anywhere." I nodded. "That's what I thought you'd say." Then I drove away, because I already knew how this was going to end, and it wasn't going to end well for him. I didn't react when Marcus laughed in my face. Didn't clench my fists, didn't reach for my gun, didn't let him see that he had just signed his own death warrant. Because this wasn't about rage. This was about patience. And I had plenty of that. Back at the station, I found Jason at his desk, flipping through case files. He looked up when I sat down across from him. "You look like you've made a decision," he said, eyeing me. "I have." I slid a piece of paper across the desk. "A name. A contact." Jason frowned. "What's this? Someone we should be looking at." He picked up the paper and exhaled. "Marcus Cole? Bennett, we've been watching this guy for years. He's a ghost. Never gets his hands dirty." "That's because we haven't been looking hard enough," I said. "But I know something. I know about a shipment." Jason's eyes sharpened. "You serious?" "Dead serious." He sat back, considering. "This information, where'd you get it?" I just looked at him. He nodded slowly. "All right, I'll push it up the chain. But if we're going to make a move on this, We need more than just a rumor. We need eyes on him. Then let's put eyes on him. For the next 3 days, I let the trap tighten around Marcus Cole. Jason and I pulled strings, got a surveillance team in place. We tracked his movements, his meetings, his transactions. And just like Reynolds said, a shipment was coming. Friday night. South Docks. A shipment big enough to put Marcus away for decades. And I was going to make damn sure he didn't see it coming. Friday arrived, and I was ready. The team was in position, hidden in the shadows, waiting. Jason and I sat in an unmarked car, radio chatter crackling softly. Visual on Cole. He's here. I watched as Marcus stepped out of his black Charger, walking toward the dockside warehouse. He was confident, unbothered, like he didn't have a care in the world. But that was about to change. Hold, Jason said into the radio. Wait for the drop. We watched as a truck backed into the warehouse, its doors swinging open. Crates were unloaded, and Marcus stepped forward, inspecting the goods. Jason gave the signal. Move in. Like a swarm, we descended. Sirens blared. Red and blue lights cut through the darkness. The warehouse exploded into chaos. Marcus's guys scrambling, trying to run, trying to fight. I moved fast, cutting through the chaos, my gun steady in my hand. I saw Marcus turn, his expression shifting from cocky to something else. Something like realization. I reached him before he could run, shoved him hard against a stack of crates. Game over, I said. He smirked. You really think this is going to hold me? I leaned in close. It's not about holding you, Marcus. It's about breaking you. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Doubt. Fear. I smiled. Because he finally understood. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee. She walked in, her hair messy from sleep, still wearing the t-shirt she had stolen from me years ago. Morning, she said, rubbing her eyes. Morning. She grabbed a cup of coffee, taking a slow sip. Then, casually, she asked, So, anything interesting happened last night? I set my mug down and looked at her. And I smiled. Not much, I said. Just taking out the trash. She didn't react right away. But I saw it. The tightening of her fingers around the mug. The way her breath hitched just slightly. She had seen the news. She knew Marcus was gone. And now, she knew I knew. She swallowed hard. I need to go to the store. We're out of milk. I leaned back in my chair, watching her. Sure, I said. She grabbed her keys and left without another word. And as I sat there, drinking my coffee, I realized something. She was next. I watched her leave, her movements hurried, her hands gripping the steering wheel just a little too tight as she backed out of the driveway. She was rattled. Good. She had spent weeks sneaking around behind my back, walking into hotel rooms with a man who was now sitting in a cell, trying to figure out how the hell his empire collapsed overnight. And she knew I had something to do with it. But she didn't know how much I knew. Not yet. I took the day off. Told the station I needed a personal day. Nobody questioned it. After last night's bust, we had put in enough overtime to earn some rest. I used the time to go through our shared accounts. Bank statements. Phone records. GPS logs from her car. I wasn't just looking for proof. I already had proof. I was looking for the why. Because a part of me still wanted to understand. When I met her, she was just a girl from a quiet town who wanted to see more of the world. I was the man who showed it to her. Our first few years were perfect. She was proud of me, proud of my work, always there when I needed her. So what changed? When did I stop being enough? Her text messages told me everything I needed to know. There weren't many. She was careful. But the few that remained painted a clear picture. She wasn't just cheating for the thrill. She was in love with him. Or at least, she thought she was. I wish things were different. I wish I didn't have to lie to him. I hate feeling like this, but I can't stop. You make me feel alive. Maybe one day we won't have to hide. I clenched my jaw. One day? She was planning something. And that changed everything. She came home late that evening, carrying a few bags of groceries, moving like she was trying too hard to seem normal. Hey, she said, forcing a smile. I got your favorite beer. I took the bag from her, set it on the counter. Thoughtful, I said. Her eyes flicked to mine, searching. You okay? I nodded slowly. Yeah, just thinking. She hesitated. About what? I leaned against the counter, studying her. About us. Her fingers tightened around the bag she was holding. Tom, you ever think about what would happen if I wasn't here? I asked casually. Her breath caught. Just for a second. Then she forced a laugh. What kind of question is that? I shrugged. Just curious. I mean, you've been spending a lot of time away, doing things I don't know about, talking to people I don't know. Her face paled. Tom, Marcus is gone, I said. Silence. I watched her lips part slightly, her breathing shallow. She already knew, but hearing me say it out loud made it real. They got him last night, I continued. Whole operation went down. He's facing 30 years minimum. I stepped closer, which means there's only one loose end left. She swallowed hard. Tom, I swear I never meant. Don't. I let the word hang between us. She blinked, her hands trembling now. What happens now? I exhaled slowly. That depends on you. I saw the moment the realization hit her. She had two choices. Run or beg. I didn't care which. Because either way, I had already won. She stood there, frozen, her back against the counter, her eyes wide with panic. I could see her trying to process, trying to come up with something, anything, to salvage her situation. But there was nothing left to save. She had already made her choice. I wasn't stupid. I knew what she was thinking. She was trying to decide if she could talk her way out of this. If she could convince me that everything she did with Marcus meant nothing, that it was just a mistake, that I should forgive her. I had been through that song and dance before. Tom, please. Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. I don't know what happened. I cut her off. You don't know what happened? I stepped closer, my voice low but steady. You don't know what happened? You think this is a mistake? You think I didn't know you were sneaking around behind my back? She flinched, but I didn't stop. You knew exactly what you were doing. And now look at us. I reached for the bottle of beer she'd bought, opened it, and took a long drink. I let the coldness wash over me. My mind was clear now. No more confusion. No more questions. This wasn't about love anymore. It wasn't about fixing anything. It was about power. And she had lost it. She had always thought she was in control, that she could juggle me and Marcus, that she could keep the lies hidden beneath the surface. But I was smarter than that, and I had played the game better. Tom, I'm sorry, she said, taking a step forward, her voice cracking. I know I messed up, but I love you. I do. You're the only one I ever wanted. I looked at her, really looked at her, and in that moment, I saw something else. I saw the guilt, the regret, the realization of how far she had fallen, and it made me sick. She was desperate now, scrambling for anything to hold on to. She reached out and grabbed my arm, her fingers cold against my skin. Tom, please. But I wasn't moved. You don't get it, do you? I said, pulling my arm away. You destroyed everything. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed us. You betrayed everything we had. And now you think a couple of words are going to fix it? It's too late for that. Her eyes started to well up, tears forming at the corners of her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't mean for you to find out this way. It's just, Tom, you were always so busy. Always working. I needed someone there. Someone who paid attention to me. I nodded slowly, letting the words sink in. She was trying to justify herself now, trying to paint a picture where she was the victim in all of this. But I had heard enough of her excuses. So that's it. I asked. You cheat on me because I'm working hard to provide for us. You think that's an excuse? She shook her head, her voice barely a whisper. No, but it's how I felt. Like you didn't care anymore. I let out a breath, running my hand over my face. The whole thing was so pathetic. You wanted attention, so you turned to another man. Is that it? I said, barely holding back the anger. You didn't think about what you were throwing away? What this would do to us? She didn't answer, but the silence spoke volumes. I could see it now. She was broken. I didn't need to do anything more. She had cracked, and she knew it. Her whole world had shattered in an instant. I stood there for a long moment, watching her. She hadn't even moved. She was frozen in place, a mixture of guilt and fear on her face. I finally spoke, my voice quieter now, the finality setting in. You're done, Elena. I want a divorce. Her face twisted in disbelief. Tom, you can't be serious. I nodded slowly. I'm dead serious. Her tears started to fall now, silently, as she took a step back, her hands trembling. I don't know what else to say. You don't need to say anything, I said, turning to walk away. The choice is already made. As I stepped out of the room, I didn't feel the anger I thought I would. No rage. No desire for revenge. I felt calm. Because I had won. I went to the station the next day, filed the papers. My colleagues were surprised, but they didn't ask questions. They knew what I had been going through. Hell, Everyone did. I had been an open book for too long, my life a soap opera for anyone to watch. But now, I was shutting the door. And I didn't look back. The divorce was finalized quickly. The lawyers on both sides worked fast, and the media made a show of it. What else were they going to talk about? A high-ranking cop, married to a woman who betrayed him, caught up in the kind of drama that makes for perfect headlines. They couldn't get enough of it. But I wasn't focused on them. I was focused on me. Elena wasn't the woman I had married. She wasn't the woman I had trusted. The woman I had loved had died the moment she decided to look for comfort in someone else. In the months that followed, I threw myself into work. The pain didn't go away, not completely, but it dulled. And the more I immersed myself in the job, the more I realized that there were bigger things at play, things far more important than what Elena had done to me. I hadn't expected to find peace right away, and I didn't. But I found a purpose again, and that was enough. Marcus Cole stayed quiet, sitting in his cell, doing his best to act like he was the one who had won. But I could see through him. He knew. He knew he had been played. He knew I had orchestrated his fall, his loss of power, his disgrace. But there was nothing he could do about it now. He would rot behind bars while I kept climbing, kept moving forward. His allies? Gone. His empire? Crumbled. And me? I was untouchable. It was late one night when I found myself back at the bar, nursing a whiskey, staring at my reflection in the glass. I hadn't been here in a while. The weight of everything was still there, lurking just beneath the surface, but it wasn't as heavy as before. A familiar face slid onto the stool next to me. It was Jason. He had been my partner, my friend, the one who kept me grounded through the worst of it. "You look like you're at peace," he said, taking a sip of his own drink. I nodded slowly. "I think I am." "Good." He paused, watching me. "You've been through hell, man. But you came out the other side." "I guess I did." Jason clinked his glass against mine. "To new beginnings." I didn't respond at first. Then, with a half smile, I said, "To justice." The silence between us was comfortable. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't holding my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. There were no more games. No more lies. Just the cold, hard truth of what had happened and the bitter taste of the victory I had earned. In the end, I was the one who walked away with everything. I had found my footing again. And Elena? She got what she deserved. She didn't get to walk away with the life she had taken for granted. She didn't get to keep her secrets. She wasn't the victim anymore. I was. But I didn't need anyone to feel sorry for me. I had already won. And now, I could finally move on.